Do 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 do. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Ba ba da ba ba da ba. Testing from the right thing. Moving all the boxes that make noises when I kick them.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Gladcast episode 84. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm John Cage.
And I'm in shock. And I'm Andy Lewis.
Mr. Cage.
I have escaped the confines of the nursery. Kaz is going to notice I'm not there anymore fairly shortly, so let's make this quick.
We've never made one of these quick.
Be prepared for an hour and a half of absolute waffle.
Sounds good to me.
They know us by now. It's okay.
Yeah, and I'm fairly sleep deprived, so it really will be quite a lot of waffle.
I was going to ask, actually, are you actually compos mentis? Is there a lot of caffeine in that beer you're currently consuming? Is it, a coffee porter or something?
I have had a lot of coffee. This week was the first week that I'm back at work. Well, I say at work, working from home.
Yes.
So Kaz is doing more of the night shifts, but I'm still up. Or at least waking at least every 2 to 3 hours, which doesn't make for a great night's sleep.
No. I think someone needs to check your code at the end of all of this.
Yeah, well, I don't write code anymore. I just direct a team to do it. It's safer that way.
That would explain the last few weeks when you've not been there.
There you go. Oh, these look like interesting things to go and do. But the project.
Yeah. The 3 projects. Yes. Oh, good. I thought you were back last week. I distinctly remember emails. Or maybe I'm making that up.
Yes. No, wait. What day is it today?
Monday.
Yeah, there you go.
1st of June.
That's why. It's because it feels like a Thursday, because we always used to podcast on a Thursday. But you guys have gone crazy and changed the schedules around.
John fears change.
We don't need to get complacent.
It's true.
That's Andy's fault, by the way.
Andy's
My fault? Why is it my fault?
Because you decided to run a D&D game on a Wednesday.
That's your fault, actually. I asked, which night is everyone free? And you went straight in and said, I can only do Wednesday. Right, okay, Wednesday it is then.
Well, because it was.
There you go. So don't you blame me, Tudor.
It's both your faults then.
Yes.
There you go. So yes, things are getting better. Things are getting easier. But it's still hard work making tiny humans and raising them, it turns out.
We did warn you.
Yeah, several people did warn me. I know that. And I said at the time, I understand that. But you never really understand these things until you've lived them. As I'm sure all of you parents out there will know.
How old is Sam now? Is he 2 months?
Yes, in fact, last weekend he was 2 months old. Although it was
quick.
He's been out for 2 months, but he was 2 months early. So he's just about like a normal baby would start here.
Right, okay. So you've just ended the 3rd trimester.
So yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's all a bit weird because he was premature. Like some stuff starts early and some stuff develops normally. Very confusing. The important thing is he's more than doubled his weight. He's very cute when he's not screaming like a horrible thing.
The feeling on that, but that's a different story for lockdown.
Generally speaking, it's all heading in the right direction. So
Good.
It's all positive.
Excellent. Good news.
Yeah, the next generation of board game reviewing media staff are firmly on the right track.
On our track, anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's been trained by me. Oh dear.
Oh dear. It's all right, we'll interfere.
Yes, we will. Don't worry, cool uncles Andy and Steve were on the case.
Oh my.
He's in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Speaking of being on the wrong track, are you getting one of your Awakened Realms games yet? Or are they still on, 3rd wave or something?
I don't expect to see them anytime soon.
Okay.
To be honest, I've not really been checking up on them because weirdly I've been slightly distracted. And even if I did want to play board games, the only person I realistically could play board games with right now is Kaz. And she's not that interested because she's even more distracted than I am right now.
That's fair.
I'm like, you could hold the manual in one hand while you're breastfeeding with the other hand. Doesn't sound that tough to me. If you're going to drop anything, drop the manual. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Ah, well.
He bounced, right?
Yeah, they're fine at that age. They're all soft and squidgy. They're fine. Their bones don't set fully for about 2 years. It's all good.
It's all right. I dropped my sister when she was about 6 months old. She's fine.
As fine as anyone could be being related to Steve, of course.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Yes.
So I've not been playing any board games, but what have you guys been up to?
Well.
Are you going to tell us?
Well, I suppose we are recording a podcast, aren't we? I suppose it's kind of...
It's probably what people tuned in for.
An insight into our personal lives. Well, it turns out I've got a new chair.
That's
because I got fed up with these two whinging that my last one was, well,
loud,
noisier than like cocking a shotgun in front of a tumble dryer full of saucepans. So I now have a nice, sexy Secret Labs Omega, courtesy of a recommendation from my friend, different Steve, and it is very, very good. Very good.
So far, so quiet.
Yes, see, I'm wiggling. You can't hear a thing.
No squeaking.
It's great. It's adjustable in pretty much every dimension.
You can gyrate silently now.
Yes, I can. It goes all the way back. It has a memory foam pillow that I've almost fallen asleep on already. It's very cool, actually, and it hugs you.
That's the mark of a good chair, is when you accidentally fall asleep in it.
It is very, very... In fact, I really did fall asleep with a cat on me the other day, so that was good. But I've rediscovered my love of Elite Dangerous whilst in this basically pilot's chair.
It's good.
I thought, well,
makes sense.
Yes. Oh God, it's because I got Elite Dangerous actually quite late to the party. So I know it was funded on Kickstarter many years ago in 2014, 16, something like that. It's a few years old now. But I beefed up my computer and bought an Oculus Rift for it because it's one of the few games that actually is quite good for it without making you want to barf your brains out. Because you've got the shell of the cockpit around you, you've kind of got a stationary frame of reference, and you don't actually physically move around in the cockpit. You literally just sit on your ass and move a joystick. So, and everything else obviously moves outside the ship, so it's less vomit-inducing. And oh my God, it's amazing. Holy shit, it's so good. But I have discovered that SLI doesn't work in VR. Oculus and stuff doesn't really work properly, so I've got two graphics cards next to each other, and only one of them works. In VR. It's fine for 2D stuff, but it's slightly annoying, but it's still all good, and it's all turned up to max chat, and it all looks amazing, actually. Seriously, like zooming past gas giants and space stations and stuff. You're like, Jesus!
Duck.
Duck. Seriously, it's really cool.
Surely you'd use one graphics card per eye.
You think,
well,
you
see, this is the thing that the NV Labs are like, yeah, we could do all of this, it's amazing, but it's kind of one of these sort of projects that's been sidelined for reasons. But yeah, you'd think so. That was apparently the logic behind it. If they used the drivers to do that, and then obviously the game needs to be compatible with it and do all of this as well. So you kind of need lots of steps in the chain to all say, yes, we'll do this. But it doesn't always work like that, sadly. But it is worth it. It's brilliant fun.
Tempting, if only I had some time to actually play these things.
Yes, it is a big time sink, actually, Elite Dangerous. Oh, I'll just finish this mission. I'm 300,000 light seconds from the nearest planet. Bloody hell. Can you save that, Andy? Not really. Why not? I might get shot. How long is it going to take? 25 minutes. What?
I mean hours. Sorry, hours.
You ain't wrong sometimes. Oh, God. It is very cool. So, yes, back on Elite Dangerous now. So I'm losing even more time to that.
I would be tempted to buy it, but as people who listen to the podcast regularly may know, I have a slightly addictive personality. So I was just looking at how many hours I spent playing Factorio. Have a guess, guys.
Well, it was about 500 6 months ago, so
More
I'm
than
guessing
500.
Yeah,
I reckon it's beyond 1,500 now.
You're close. It's 1,426 hours.
Flipping egg.
What gets me is they announced this week that they're launching that game.
Yeah, 1.0 is coming soon.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It hasn't officially been launched yet. That's just like pre-release beta or something like that.
Yep.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. So have you bug tested the shit out of this then, basically, John?
Well, the thing is, they're such good developers that they say it's a beta, but it's basically finished. And all they've been doing for the last couple of years is just polishing an already very beautiful machine.
Excellent.
It's fantastic. Highly addictive. If you haven't played it before, listeners, you should play it. And I'm sorry that your social lives will subsequently suffer. Maybe in lockdown, it's quite a good thing, you know?
The lockdown might be over soon.
Might be. Probably
might
won't.
be. Well, we'll see. I don't know. There's always the talk of the second hump, isn't there? We shall see. Speaking of betas, have you lot been playing Gloomhaven yet? Online? Or at least on Steam?
I have. I was kind of waiting for it to go a bit further, though. I played there's like single-player kind of wandering game you can play, can't you?
Yes, that's what I'm
Where
playing.
you kind of wander between like villages and things like. Played it quite a bit when I first got my new PC, and I haven't played it much in the last few weeks.
I lost momentum with it. I found it a bit, what am I doing? I kind of like it. It's a fantastic engine and a really good implementation of the board game, but there's nothing really driving me other than go here and hit things with big sticks again.
Yeah, it needs something to kind of tie it all together and make you want to play the next mission. At this point, it just feels like, let's wander to the next town. Okay, we go to the next town, kill something.
Needs some juicy meat.
Yeah, it gives you this like branching like map, but there's no real, it's like, do you go to A or B? And it feels like Talisman at that point. It's like, well, they're both roughly the same, so
either way, you're going to draw a dragon, so
yes.
Yeah,
pretty
either way, I'm
much.
going to be fighting some undead. But I mean, yeah, as you said, graphically, it's absolutely beautiful. The engine they've made is really well done. I mean, it really does make a good implementation of the Gloomhaven board game. I mean, to the point where it's exactly the same game, and then you don't have to worry about remembering what all the rules do, because of course it's built into it.
It's true. Yeah, I'm eagerly anticipating its formal release, which I can't imagine is going to be any time soon, because I think they've only made 6 of the original 12, 15, however many characters it is.
Yeah, so all of the original non-unlockable characters, if that's the right term, are already in there, aren't they?
They are now, yeah. They've been in for a couple of months, I think, now.
Yeah, but they've been cagey about the ones you unlock, I think, because they've said that they're not ready. It's quite interesting, because it seems that they're obviously taking the time developing it. I mean, like, I haven't played it yet, but has anyone else played Blood Rage yet?
Nope. No, I haven't played it. I've only seen reviews and comments and things, and apparently it's an absolute turd, but I haven't played it.
I've got it. I haven't actually played it. I haven't had a chance to play it, so I kickstarted it. Now, I read today someone saying that basically the latest update just fixes everything in one fell swoop.
Oh, well, there you go.
Nice.
Like as if all the bugs must have been related to one little piece of code that was screwing up everything else. So
uncommon REM,
Oh, should have been a plus, not a minus.
Job done.
Very satisfying.
But yeah, I've had a chance to play it myself. But it was a bit weird because there was a lot of uproar from the Kickstarter back. They were off to a bad start because the Kickstarter backers were already pissed off before they got a chance to play it.
Now why?
Because
other than being a bunch of entitled children.
Well, no, I was getting pissed off with this. They gave out the Steam codes for your full copy of the game 4 hours after the game released on Steam.
Ooh.
Pretty pre-release, is it?
Well, no. So basically, reviews were popping up and people were saying, were posting pictures of it, and everyone who backed it like 1.5 years ago was like, well, hang on.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on here?
That's pretty ropey.
Yeah.
Oh well, we shall eagerly anticipate your review of it once you've played it in the next podcast. No pressure.
Ooh, no pressure. Yes, pressure.
Pressure. Yeah, a good little bit of pressure.
Speaking of which, Rory challenged us to paint some miniatures before the next episode.
Yes. You haven't done any, have you?
That was what happened.
I've done 6. No, 5. I already had one done.
Cheat.
If it's any consolation, I've found the painting stuff in the garage and it currently sits in the kitchen.
It's a solid start.
It's a solid start because Amanda's now complaining at me. What the hell are you going to do with this big creative stuff that's in the kitchen?
What you need is a man cave or a shed.
Well, I've got a man cage. This is it. That's where I'm recording, but I don't have actually any room at the moment to put that crate.
You need a fold-down shelf. I can help. I've been woodworking recently.
Oh
dear.
Well, let's hang on. So a nice desk, fold-down desk, is one thing, but you've been making planters. I would argue there is a rather larger margin for error in making planters what goes outdoors, rather than a careful fold-down shelf that sits above all of Steve's expensive recording
It's a square
equipment.
piece of wood with a rope on it. How hard can it be?
Anyway,
One of those planters was made of ropey-assed half rounds that weren't straight, weren't cut properly, and are mitered, you cheeky bastard. That is a work of art. Most people thought I'd bought that.
Fair.
The other two, I'll grant you, are fairly straightforward, boxes that were just, cut and screwed together. They take like half an hour to make, but the mitered one was a pain in the ass.
It did look good, it did.
Anyway, I've got to justify the fairly hefty double miter power saw I've got.
I don't think you need to justify having power tools. That's just how you get the job done.
See, I like that sort of logic, John. You can come again.
Yeah. If you see the inside of my garage, you
have
see
seen
why I
the inside
support
of your
your
garage.
statement.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of power tools in there. I am jealous of your garage.
It does make life easier when you've got the right tools for the job.
Goodness, yes, it does. Oh, God, yes. 45-degree miter. Flip. Meow. Done.
Meow.
That was easy.
Poor cats.
Meow. Kipling, come here. Meow. Yes, I've got my eye now on a circular saw and a handheld circular saw as well. Little tiny one with about that much.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Fine.
Lost limbs, severed arteries.
Just not mine. As long as they're not mine, it's fine.
Maybe isolated DIY is good in this case.
Yeah.
It's all fine. I'm rather enjoying it, actually.
Although hopefully this isn't taking too much time away from valuable board gaming time, right?
No, not really. Because I've been doing it either in the evenings or at the weekends. So it's not too bad, because obviously with the weather we've got at the moment, it's fantastic out the back, so I've got a deck to work on. Tons of space. Though it takes me just as long to get the bloody tools out the garage as it does to build one of these bloody things now, because I haven't actually got a dedicated workshop, sadly, yet. I'm going to build one of them too.
Using said power tools, no doubt.
Yes, of course. So now I've been playing a few, but not as many as usually would, because obviously there's only so much time you have and so many people you can't play stuff with. So
I've taken my eye off the ball a little bit. What is going on Kickstarter at the moment? Is there anything that I should be looking to back? Just in case, in about 20 years, I have some time to play these things again.
You should have backed Dawn of Madness, because I think that's due to deliver in about 20 years' time, based on its schedule. Actually, no, it's the end of next year, but that's close enough. What is going on Kickstarter at the moment? Well, remember the Dark Cities series of games by Facade Games? So that was the ones that looked like little books. So there was Tortuga, Deadwood, and Salem. Yep. Okay, yep. The fourth one is now currently on Kickstarter. It's called Bristol 1350. And that's all about the plague hitting Bristol. So nice cheery subject there.
How topical.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Very topical. So that's currently on Kickstarter. It's a slightly more deluxe version than the previous ones, because it's about $49, which is about twice the price of the previous three, which is a bit mad. But it does have quite a lot of nice, tasty stuff in there. So I think Facade have fully embraced the Kickstarter spirit and pimped the shit out of it. Is it twice the other games? It doesn't look to be in terms of volume. I mean, it's still the same size, so it's only, the size of kind of one of those sort of Gideon's Bibles that you find in a ropey hotel every time you go. So it's that sort of size, or at least it looks it. But I think there's a wee board in it, so there might be slightly more, but it doesn't look to be bigger. I think there's just tastier pieces in it. Well, I've already backed it, obviously, because I like the little games. Actually, they're not perfect. They have a few issues, but they're kind of fun and they're quite easy to teach and play. So they're quite sort of nice sort of filler games. Steve, has something happened while I was away? Did Andy just say he likes the small ones? Well, they're smaller, thinky games. I don't like party games. They can write off. But games that make you think are good. Mindless chaff is just... Okay, well, there's still a bit of Andy left in there. Of course there is.
Yeah.
Speaking of topical games, there's a game called Lockdown out there. Whilst we're under lockdown, there is Nemesis Lockdown. Is it in any way related to pandemic-y kind of things? Because I keep seeing it bandied around in various email feeds when I'm checking other bits and pieces that I need to for Raising Humans. And keep thinking, I should have a look at that and never get around to it. As far as I can tell, it is basically, it is marketed as an expandalone. It's not the word they use, but I'm stealing Steve's term for it. It is an expandalone for the previously existing Nemesis previously by Awakened Realms. So again, by Awakened Realms, same universe, same premise, basically the same game, but it's set on Mars now, so some kind of Mars base rather than a spaceship in the arsehole of nowhere. Beyond that, I don't know, but it's going to have new beasties and other things as well. But basically, the same sort of idea.
Cool. Well, we like Nemesis, so
we do love Nemesis. There's also Kemet. So a reprint or remake, reimagining of that. So I don't know if you've played Kemet, John. It's a bit like, I suppose the closest equivalent is probably Lords of Hellas, but it's nowhere near as big or as complicated as Lords of Hellas. But the idea is it's a sort of area control game where you have a bunch of cards that you can buy that will give you certain abilities, some of which are miniatures that you can go into battle with, big scorpions and things. But that's being reimagined in a sort of version 2 now. I haven't backed that because I have version 1 and I haven't played that yet. So I thought, brief moment of sanity, not going to bother.
I recognise the name, but I don't think I've ever played it.
Kemet's considered a bit of a classic.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been out, 5, 6, 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
And there's been a few expansions. I think what the Kemet Kickstarter does is it brings some of that together and, of course, titivates it in the modern style, as Andy would say.
Of course, yes.
Bring it up to Lockdown, by the way, is a different setting. So you're in an underground base rather than in a spaceship floating through the middle of space.
Yeah.
So sounds like it's a very similar game, but with some extra stuff mixed in.
Yes.
So it sounds like it's more like Alien, whereas original Nemesis is more like Aliens.
Which
perhaps
is weird considering those locations have been reversed.
Yes. Don't know.
But yes, it sounds like that sort of thing. But I guess I don't know. I haven't really paid that much attention. I just went Nemesis, yes, back.
You didn't even look at the details, did you? Just like on the basis of it's them and it's that. Yep.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I looked at it afterwards and went, ooh, there's add-ons. We'll be adding a little bit more for that. But I haven't gone all in because I don't need to. Because what they've done is no, I don't need to because I've got all the other stuff from the previous campaigns.
What do you mean don't need to? What have you done with Andy?
He is going all in, but he's already got all the stuff.
Yeah.
So if he went all in, he'd just have a repeat of stuff we'd already bought. Yeah, explain what you did with your delivery today, Andy.
No.
Is someone embarrassed about something, Andy?
Well, I made a slight there was a slight administrative oversight. I've received.
Did you buy it in the wrong language?
No, nothing like that. No. Nothing so foolish.
To keep with Andy's analogy, he's double dipped.
I have double dipped. Yes, I backed the Root expansion many months ago. So this is the Underground one. So there's the one that we played in City Games last year, and then they've added to this with an Underground expansion. So some of you can play Crows and the Corvid Collective, and some Underground faction, Duchy, I think it's called. And you get some additional bits with it. There's like little sort of pimp, basically, some markers to make the clearings more obvious as to what faction they actually belong to. There's a bunch of little sort of wooden meeple affairs to make the vagabonds, like the kind of roaming faction you can play, a little more identifiable, a little more fun because you can have more than one of them. And there's another deck of cards that you can use instead of the regular deck.
More stuff,
basically. And for some reason, I will blame this entirely on past Andy for being a bit of an idiot. I added these 3 add-ons to the pledge, thinking, brilliant, I want all of this stuff, it looks pretty cool. For some reason, I completely managed to miss the fairly clear statement saying this is what you'll get on this pledge level, including the 3 add-ons I've basically put in as well. So I've got 3 add-ons.
Twice,
yes. Not the end of the world. It was only $40 worth of stuff, but still, it's stuff I now need to sell. So if anyone wants them, they can have them for 30 quid plus shipping.
They can have them at a small profit.
No, not at all. No, I think it works out about 33 quid, so I'm happy to sell them for 30 if somebody wants them to pay for shipping.
Fair dues.
Yes. I don't need
Whoops.
them. Yeah, whoops. I don't know what happened there. I'm usually fairly fastidious when it comes to actually making sure I get the right stuff. Having all of it twice seems even excessive even for me.
It occurs to me that a couple of things might have turned up since I last podcasted with you guys, actually.
Ooh.
Mire Marsh turned up.
Ah, okay. Is that an RPG?
No, it's you basically play the part of goblins, warring factions of goblins. You're trying to basically cross a marsh, and you're... It's hard to describe, isn't it, Steve?
Right. I'll explain it to a way that Andy can maybe understand it.
Yep.
Well, I'm not sure I like the tone of that.
No. Theme-wise, it is... oh, shit, I forgot the name. What's the name of the game with the chips?
Poker.
And the one you spent like 300 quid on.
Too
Many Bones.
Too Many Bones.
Too Many Bones. Right. That's the one. The simplest way to describe it is thematically, it's almost exactly the same story as Too Many Bones.
Right, okay.
So you're playing a bunch of goblin-like creatures in a cooperative game where you're going into somewhere and killing something.
Okay.
You're going on a little quest. The difference is, whereas Too Many Bones has got this quite complicated character development system and complicated combat, but the path to the adventure is just a deck of cards, which random events happen.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of flipped. So the combat's simpler, the character classes are simpler, but it's the exploration and moving around the board, which is the more complicated side of it.
Oh, okay.
And you're gradually trying to improve your goblins, but you have like a goblin sort of champion, if you like, that you're trying to get to this ultimate goal. You're sort of not so attached to necessarily any one goblin making it. So you're just trying to make sure that yours is the one that just edges it past the post at the right time to...
so it's not a cooperative then?
It's semi-co-op, I think.
Okay. Oh, interesting, actually. Is the rulebook as bad as Too Many Bones' rulebook?
Don't know, it's still in the shrink wrap.
I am not surprised.
Yeah, it arrived about the same time as someone else, so...
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, I have had some new deliveries. I'd forgotten about that.
Excellent. That sounds good. I would like to play that. See how good it is. Send it my way. I'll get it played for you. I'll do you a favour. Idea.
Yeah, you could learn the rules.
I could. Flick through them going, yep, this rulebook's better than Too Many Bones, because odds are it will be. I noticed, speaking of new rulebooks and shit rulebooks, the Root rulebook was universally condemned as shit, wasn't it, when we had a look at it? There's a new one now in the expansion. I haven't gone through it. So they did say they were going to try and improve it, but I've recently seen comments on various forums saying, they're going to do the next expansion, so I'm not holding my breath.
Talk about not holding your breath.
No.
Very poor link here. In the last episode, I said our Tabletop Gaming Live was still going ahead.
And then I immediately said, as soon as we release this, it won't be.
Yeah, it was about 3 days after we released the episode. So our episode was correct at time of print for approximately 48 hours.
Excellent.
That's all you can ask, really.
Yeah.
We're on the cutting edge.
Yeah, so unsurprisingly, Tabletop Gaming Live in London has been cancelled this year, meaning I don't think there's actually any conventions left. I think Dragon Meet haven't announced yet because they're using December.
What about that one that Grogan runs?
Well, I was about to say, Paul, I think, is hoping he can delay GridCon. But we'll see,
as long as he
basically.
keeps 6 people in, no more than 6 people in each room, and they're all at least 2 meters apart, so you'll have to play something like Agra or Warhammer 40,000. You'll be fine.
Well, Dragon Meet is still timetabled.
Okay.
The 30th of November. You watch, that's it. By the time I've said that, that's it. That's
You've kiboshed it now, mate. That's it.
Yep,
it's game over.
Final nail in the coffin for Dragon Meet. That's going to get cancelled.
It's got the Polyhedron Collider kiss of death to it, hasn't it?
Probably get a cream for that.
Ooh.
Dear, no. No.
It is beyond the might of any soothing cream, I think.
Even if you apply liberally. Let's move on.
Well, speaking of oil applied liberally,
Aha!
Simon have just announced a Masters of the Universe game.
Yes.
Yeah. By the power of Grayskull.
We have absolutely no idea what it's going to be. We've got no idea what the miniatures are going to look like. All I can imagine is it's going to look pretty and be ridiculously expensive on Kickstarter and also make a shit ton of money.
Yeah. It's pretty much standard Simon affair. I think scheduled to hit Kickstarter in 2021, so plenty of time. So I don't think this is actually realistically going to actually be on shelves until 2022. But
based on Simon's current backlog, that's 2023 easily.
We shall see. Watch this space.
Obviously, they got Ankh. Have they got the rest of... Is there any more Rising Sun to come?
No, because they ship all in one go. They don't do split shipping.
Okay.
So, I'm still waiting for Bloodborne, which I backed some time So Bloodborne successfully funded in May last year. So it's just over a year since it last funded. It was supposed to be delivered this month. I think we're now looking at Christmas.
I was going to say, I think it's probably not unreasonable to add 6 months to pretty much any miniature-based Kickstarter at this point.
Yeah, but Simon have usually been reasonably on track.
Yeah,
I don't mean because of that. I mean, I think just because of the lockdown in China, that's all. Everything's going to be scooched out.
Yeah. True, very true.
Every Kickstarter that does that is going to be delayed by, somewhere between 3 and 6 months, I think.
So I reckon you're looking 2023. You're looking at getting that Masters Universe game.
I might have time to play by then.
Maybe. I'm going to be dead from alcohol consumption based on this lockdown.
So another Kickstarter you will be able to play in back, which is coming very soon, is a thing called Roll. Now, apparently, I didn't realise this Roll's actually out, and you can use it now. But they're doing like a major expansion for it. So what this is as far as I can work out, it's like another version of Roll20, but they're not aiming it at the D&D crowd. They're aiming it at like everything else. And at the moment, it looks like it's a lot more slick looking.
This is going to be more along the lines of, what's that one that you play on, John, or that you've had a look at? The other one, the other platform that is available.
I can't remember the name of it.
You're thinking of Fantasy Grounds.
That's the chap. Yes.
But Fantasy Grounds is, again, really heavy towards D&D. So Roll is more along the lines of Roll20, but they've already signed up with quite a few like smaller publishers. Like our friend Adam, you've probably heard him mention in the chats between us, he's talking about Lancer.
Yes.
So the makers of Lancer are in there, so it'll be able to run that from the start. And it sounds like they're going from like full support from the developers.
Okay, so it's still grassroots almost.
Yeah, because one of the things about Roll20 is anyone can kind of make a character sheet up as long as you've got pro membership. But it means that basically it relies on the community making all these sheets. Like we've been playing Alien over Roll20 for the last few weeks, and that Alien character sheet is completely made by fans. No one, as far as I'm aware, no one from Free League has been involved in that.
It seems to work.
I think the idea here is they're getting people from the grassroots to go, so to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Always up for some new RPG platforms, especially if I could find some pesky time.
We did warn you, John. It doesn't exist now. That's it. For 18 years, your life is timeless.
You're
like
better.
A photon.
I am like a photon on the wind.
A futon.
I'm a futon on the wind.
We'll fold John away and bring him out when we need him.
I've been rewatching Firefly recently. I've forgotten just how good it was.
I really need to rewatch it. I love it. I've not seen it for a couple of years now. It's brilliant.
Yep.
I think that was one of the greatest mistakes Fox ever made.
Possibly. I mean, yes, it would have been great to have had more Firefly, but on the other hand, maybe it would have been ruined if there were more.
Don't be ridiculous.
Nah, it would have got shit after season 4.
We only had one season. We could get 2 more good ones out.
Exactly. But then it would get better in season 6. It would be okay. Although by that time, Nathan Fillion would have porked out a bit to reflect more recent. And then again, obviously, he's 15 years older, and I understand we do get more portly with age.
Oh my.
I think the fact that it got left as it was is actually quite good, because it's a perfectly sealed unit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it allows your imagination to ask and answer all of the questions as well.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It leaves you... Something should always leave you wanting more, rather than disappoint you.
Yes. Like Lost. Battlestar Galactica.
Lost? Jesus, I got bored of that after season 1. What a load of shite.
So I loved Lost. I loved all the mysteries. I loved all these crazy things. What's happening? Where are they here? What are the numbers?
They're all
what are the
dead,
symbols?
And it's nonsense. Done.
Hashtag spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen beyond season 1, so I don't actually know. I'm just guessing, but...
It's a bit more complicated than that, but yeah.
Mostly.
Not much, unfortunately.
No. But it does make you think that there might be more to it than that.
Yeah.
Right. Oh.
Oh.
Ah. Ooh.
I was going to say, let's talk about some games, but then there's one more bullet point here that's caught my eye. New 140k and trailer. Is this like the 9th edition, or...?
This is the 9th edition, and to be fair, a new 40k is not actually a big deal to mention it because I think they bring one out about every 2 or 3. Well, it feels like every 2 years, but actually looking back, I think it's like every 5.
I'm going to see that. I remember us promoting. Well, I say promoting, saying, "Oh, the 8th edition is out," and that wasn't long ago. That was 2 years ago.
It was. We were at Expo that year because they actually launched it at UK Games Expo, and they had the demo versions of it there. So you're probably right. It was probably 2 years ago.
It wasn't long ago. I mean, I remember you talking to a chap in a suit, so it couldn't have been.
Yeah,
long.
it would have been. Yeah,
that's nothing.
To be fair, they were probably hoping to launch 9th edition at Expo by the sounds of it, considering the news came out basically this week.
So, is this an opportunity for everyone to go and take their existing armies and burn them in a fit of anger?
Yes.
No, they're not making us that much of a change. They're not going from fantasy to Age of Sigmar. It's fine.
And there I was thinking we're going to have some excellent news coming up for the next episode.
Look at all these videos of plastic fires.
So what a bunch of idiots.
Is 9th edition then more of a tweak of the rules than anything else?
It sounds like it, because it sounds like all the old codexes are still valid.
Okay.
So your miniature rules apply, but the game rules have been tweaked. They do this with 40k every so often. Like, so many versions will be minor tweaks, so you can use the old codex, and every so often they'll wipe the slate clean and start again.
Like they did with 2nd edition, basically.
Well, 2nd edition and 3rd did it, and then I lost track after that. But 8th, the version which did come out you're talking about, was another one of those wiping the slate clean.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just a tweak. But anyway, it's worth watching the trailer because they've paid someone to do this amazing 3D animated cinematic trailer, and it looks awesome.
Ooh.
Almost good as the Astartes, which was someone else. Have you seen the Astartes yet?
No.
Go onto YouTube and look for Astartes. It's in 5 pieces because the guy made it himself basically at home in his bedroom, and it's taken him absolute ages to build the entire thing. And his YouTube account got hacked halfway through. So everyone thought he wouldn't actually be able to finish it because he kind of went, well, if it got hacked, I'm giving up. That's it. I'm pissed off kind of thing. And but people, like fans, managed to work with YouTube as far as I'm aware to get his account back to him.
Oh, wow.
And it's basically, it's a really simple plot because all it is a bunch of space marines like assaulting a spacecraft.
So what's it called? I missed that bit.
Astartes. As in Legionnaires Astartes.
As in Adeptus Astartes.
That's the one.
Yeah.
As in, how do you spell that?
Astartes. How it sounds. Astartes. Adeptus Astartes. The Space Marines.
Yeah, because remember, they're not called Space Marines anymore.
Aren't they?
No, they're called Adeptus Astartes.
They've always been called Adeptus. Well, unofficially. Well, no, officially Adeptus Astartes, unofficially is the Space Marines. Yes.
It's just like they're not the Imperial Guard anymore.
Not something I was ever aware of.
What are they called now? Wasn't it? What was not the Imperial Guard?
I can't remember.
Oh my god! When did that? I did not receive that memo.
Basically, they changed the names to basically names that had already been seen because they couldn't copyright. They lost that copyright for the word Space Marine, didn't they?
Oh really? Did they? I did not know that.
Yeah, there was they tried to sue someone over using the name Space Marine. It was like a children's book called like Biff the Space Marine or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Brilliant.
And they tried to sue someone over it because Space Marine is one of their legitimate trademarks, and the general thing is to try and keep hold of your trademark, you have to go after people who are using it, otherwise you could lose it. So basically, everyone took the piss out of them and said Space Marine's not a copyrighted term. And I think lots of people pointed to the original Starship Troopers novel and things like that. And a little bit after this whole thing was settled, they changed the names of a lot of their races, and it's also about the same time, coincidentally, that they got rid of Warhammer Fantasy and went to Age of Sigmar.
Oh.
Because Warhammer Fantasy was, orcs, elves, dwarves, trolls, what have you, whereas Age of Sigmar, they're not called that, they're called other things.
So they can keep the copyright. Yeah, okay, that makes
Keep
more sense.
trademark.
Yeah, sure, because you can't defend prior art, so yeah, sure.
So the Imperial Guard is now the Astra Militarum.
I always was. Okay, so they're just basically using the words they put in the books.
Yeah,
right.
As they're the official names. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't they call are they still using the Terminators? Presumably they can't defend that because of the 6 films that are coming out. So they must now be the.
No, Terminators are a bit of a weird one because they've got rid of normal tactical. They've got rid of normal Marines, haven't they? So they're a bit of a weird position with them.
Oh,
so normal Space Marines have been replaced by Primaris.
Yes.
Which are those true scale Marines, which are bigger. So I'm not fully up to date on 40k. Someone will no doubt correct us, but it's always been a bit weird with that now. So,
well, surely I thought the whole difference was between the Terminators and the regular chaps was basically the armor. They're walking around in something akin to a tank, rather
massive
than
power armor, as opposed to wimpy power armor.
Precisely, yes.
But now you've got like massive Marines. So the Terminators now look a little short and stumpy compared to the normal Marines.
They're double armed, though. They've got thick-assed armour.
Maybe they've upped the Terminators to basically be dreadnoughts.
No, they haven't. Cool. That's the thing.
Oh.
They've upped the dreadnoughts then, though.
Ooh.
The current dreadnoughts are absolutely bloody huge.
Cool.
I would say that's just an excuse to sell miniatures, but that would be very cynical on my part, and obviously true, because they sell miniatures.
That's their business.
Yes, exactly. And it works.
Yes.
I want to buy Space Marines now. Sorry, Adeptus Astartes.
No, I always do. Whenever this kind of new stuff comes out, I always want to buy new stuff.
God, they've got us again.
Damn it. Damn this marketing. It's so easy to market to nerds, isn't it?
We have played some games this last couple of weeks. We played loads of RPGs. We've been playing Star Trek. We've been playing Alien. We've been playing D&D.
You guys have played lots of games.
We've been the collective pretending it's all of PHC.
The royal we.
Because don't worry, you're probably getting about as much gaming in as Rory is at the moment by the sounds of it as well, John. So
yeah, that makes me sad that both me and Rory are suffering right now.
Me and Andy also played a bit of Raiders of the North Sea, and we played a bit of Teotihuacan. But I need to have another game of Raiders of the North Sea for a reason we will discuss when we actually get around to discussing it properly. But I'd like to have another game before we talk about that, even though it's a bit old hat. But what we have done is we've asked our listeners for questions, and we have a veritable mailbag full of all kinds of stuff we can talk about.
It's bulging.
Some of them are even repeatable.
Well, that's a turn up for the books.
So, we will go through these, but I'll go through them in the order I've just put them on the list, but I imagine that some of them we will say we've answered previously, because there's themes amongst them which have come up earlier. So, we'll start with Craig Haggart's question, which is, what is your favourite game mechanic? And there's an example of how it's been used in a particularly interesting way.
This is going to give us 3 different answers, which is not a bad thing.
Well, that's the whole point, though, isn't it?
It's probably no surprise for me that it's worker placement, I think. Probably.
It's a given.
Yeah, well, it's either that or action selection, really. I think I'm one of those two. But obviously it depends on the game. Because I quite like the idea of having obviously it leads to what we call, the meaningful decision. You are forced to make economic based, or, make the most of your limited resources in worker placement. For me, it seems to be pretty obvious. I've got 5 moves. Where do I put these little chaps? But I think to say it's been used in an interesting way is probably difficult for worker placement, because it's all very, very much of a muchness. But I did like the way Agra works, because whilst it is worker placement, you have 11 or so sandal-wearing chaps. You don't have a limited, you have a very large, almost unlimited pool of workers. Whereas, you usually in a worker placement game, you'll place them all down, you'll end the round, everyone sort of clears them all up, and then you go round again. Whereas in Agra, it's like a continuing process. You'll just keep putting people down into little spots until you run out. And the only way you can actually do anything then is by being bumped by somebody else, which is quite a nice idea. So, it even says in the rules, basically there's no limit to the number of workers. It's really, I suppose it kind of boils it down to an action selection in a way. But you get bonuses and various other bits and bobs if you get bumped, depending on what your workers have done and are doing at the time. I won't go into any detail because Agra's quite complicated. But that was quite interesting to me. It was a nice twist on the way worker placement works. Like, you put a guy down and he'll generate a resource, generally speaking. But you can put him to sleep, meditate him, and you get extra bonuses and do extra stuff. But if somebody kicks him when he's not meditating, then you'll get a bonus and you'll be able to use something like that. So, which is nice. So it's in your interest to kind of balance the two. But then you just get your worker back. So there's no rounds, there's nothing like that. It's literally just a continuing, ongoing process.
So to sum it up, worker placement.
See, I think interesting places that worker placement used is in a couple of the Garphill games, the Shem Phillips ones. So I think Raiders of the North Sea is quite interesting in that you place a worker and then retrieve a worker.
True.
And you get an action for both of them, but then the power of the action depends on the colour of the worker you both place and remove. And I find that leads to some really interesting decisions, because it's not just about placing the work and getting the resource you want or the action you want. You have to think about, well, if I do this, what meeple am I going to pick up for next round?
Yes.
The one you pick up is the one you're going to place next turn. And playing it there several times, you kind of go, I don't really want that action, but I want that resource, but I don't want that meeple.
Yeah.
So you've got that difficult decision of which ones you take there.
I want to go raiding, but I need a white meeple to do that, and I've only got a grey one where there's no white. Yeah.
Architects has got quite a nice implementation of that stuff.
I was just about to say exactly that. That was the second game I was thinking of, Shem Phillips Garphill games. Architects, I think, is really clever, where the more meeples you have down, the more resources, the more you get from that action.
Yep.
But then people can come and kidnap them, which I think is an amazing strategy.
I love that
mechanic.
I think it's one of the best examples of player interaction in a worker placement game, because dry boring Euros, as you two lovingly call them, relatively famous for having very little player interaction, or relatively little player interaction. Some of them have more than others, but yeah. So this is a really good way of basically being a dick and interacting with your opponents and actually actively trying to slow them down, which I think is quite a good thing.
Yeah, which smoothly brings us into my favourite mechanic, which is the dick move.
That is how it's actually written in the rule books.
It's a special classification on Board Game Geek. Mechanics.
Yeah, I'll clarify that actually. It's the games that I enjoy most aren't the ones that specifically just have a way of being horrific to other people. I like games where there are mechanisms in there where you can do something that benefits you and at the same time disadvantages someone else. And the games that I enjoy most are games where those two things, they're not necessarily going to happen at the same time, but you get the most satisfaction when you get that killer move off where you've absolutely stuffed someone else and you benefited yourself at the same time.
Architects again. Kidnap somebody else and then flog them for money. Boom.
Yeah. Architects is one good example. The one I was thinking of is photosynthesis.
Yes.
Where you're growing trees, but you're can't speak. Cleverly, one of those two.
That's the new word, cleverly.
Yeah, when you're being both careful and clever. Yeah, when you're carefully placing trees so that your trees are going to gain the most light, while simultaneously shading other people's trees from benefiting from the same light. So, and anything where you've got some sort of mechanic like that, I find great fun.
I'm rather partial to a dice pool.
No shit, Judah.
No, it's very specific though, a dice pool. So the kind of a dice pool is when you have to roll a particular number on the dice, and then you get more. How good you are depends on how many dice you get to roll.
Right, okay.
So a board game best example is Arkham and Eldritch Horror, because you get a number of dice equal to your skill, and then you need a 5 or 6 on them. And then if you're blessed, you need 4, 5, or 6, and if you're cursed, you need a 6. I think, unfortunately, it's one of those mechanics where I think RPGs really go for it really well and do more interesting things with it. Like, for instance, Blades in the Dark and Heart are 2 RPGs, which I think really does it well. So the dice pool is you just collect a load of dice, roll them. But
Alien does a good job of it as well.
I was about to come on to Alien, but Heart, you remove like the highest dice roll you've got, and that affects the result. Whereas like Blades in the Dark, you'll get successes on lots of them, but the higher the value, if you get one high value, you're good. But yeah, Alien, I think, is a really good example, because not only does it have a good dice pool, but that stress mechanic where it adds more dice to the dice pool, which means you increase the chances. But whenever you roll a 1, bad stuff happens. Really bad stuff happens. And I think that's a really clever mechanic. And just I think it's right for someone to put that into a board game. That one,
totally. Alien RPG board game. That would be pretty cool.
Hello. I'm still on the fence about Blades in the Dark. Can't quite decide whether I actually enjoy it or not.
It's I think the mechanics and the game system are very, very good. It's a complete opposite end of the gaming spectrum to D&D. And I think that's one of the things I personally I'm finding that I like these D&D's adventures. I like the epic quests. I like the campaigns. But I'm finding I'm not liking the rules.
Interesting.
Whereas I'm playing things like Blades in the Dark and Alien, and I'm finding I really love the rules because it allows you to just get going.
It's less mechanics focused. It's a bit more free
form. There's less overhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit more at the DM's discretion. It's like the sort of RPGs I did at school. Literally, people just pulled the game out of their arse. Literally, it was just more of a narrative than anything else. And as long as what you were trying to do seemed reasonable, it was fine. And you just kind of like, yeah, that's fine. Rather than where D&D, well, page 155 says if you're trying to do this and you're only 10.6 feet apart, then you have to do this and blah, 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 blah. Oh.
We need to try and play Dread at some point.
Is that the one with the
Jenga
blocks? Right.
Dread, as in Judge Dredd.
No, as in a feeling of dread. It's like a horror survivalist kind of game, RPG game.
Yeah, it's a horror game where rather than doing tests, you can either take the effects of what's going to happen, or you can chance it by pulling a block at the Jenga tower.
Yeah, and depending on how difficult the DM thinks that the thing that you're trying to do is, defines how many blocks you need to pull out.
Surely, though, you won't be able to do that on Roll20 then.
No, it's definitely a first person. Yeah. You have to be there.
It's definitely a first person one. Just like I'd love to play 12 Candles, or is it 10 Candles? 10 Candles.
Not 4 candles.
Not 4 candles, no. Not 4 candles. Yeah, you need to play in person, and you need to play in complete darkness, and you have 10 candles, and the 10 candles are basically your life points.
So as the candles burn down?
No, as you blow them out.
Oh, I see.
You blow them out as things happen, so as the game carries on, the room gets darker and darker and darker.
Oh, wow, cool. That is cool. Yeah, we totally need to do that.
So when I used to listen to the Dragon's Horde podcast, they used to do Dread sessions now and again, and one thing that they started doing was they'd play it in darkness, and everyone would have a candle, and when your character dies, you blow out your candle. And so the same sort of thing, like as it gets more and more desperate, the room gets darker and darker and more sinister. Really
that
cool.
Sounds awesome.
But we need lockdown out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't work if you're 2 meters away from each other, does it?
No. Unless you have like really long tweezers.
Yeah.
Oh, that works. Yeah.
One of those million candle torches.
I was picturing like forge tongs to like.
That would work.
It's like Iron Man version of it.
Okay, Benjamin Porter asks, what are some of the best games for 2 players? Not necessarily designed specifically for 2 players, but games that work well with 2 players.
Neuroshima Hex.
Yeah.
It's a great one for 2 people. I was thinking about this earlier.
Okay.
I think Carcassonne, the old classic Carcassonne 2-player, is the most ruthless game in the world ever.
Nice.
Because 3 or 4 player, you can blame someone else, but in 2 player, it's just like, I'm going to build this castle here. But I'm never going to be able to finish that road.
Yes, I do. Wingspan, actually, I think is better with 2 than 5.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Because the market isn't big enough for 5 people. It's essentially pointless because there's only 3 cards in it. You have your go. There's 3 cards in the market. By the time it gets around to your go, those cards have completely changed. There's absolutely no planning involved at all at a 5-player game. You're basically more at the mercy of the deck. So when it gets to your go, you have to look at the market, and there's a bit more thinking, there's a bit more downtime. Whereas in a 2-player game, you're usually only drawing 1 or 2 cards from the market. So there's some semblance of it still being present at the end of the opponent's go. The downside is there are some cards that happen, on opponents' turns, which are a lot less powerful in a 2-player game because you only got 1 person to actually give you the benefit. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. But it rattles along really quite nicely at a 2-player game. Now, Laura and I played quite a lot of Wingspan, so it probably explains why it does rattle along. But I think it's better with fewer. I don't think Wingspan works with more than 3.
Okay.
At least not as well.
That makes sense. Yeah, because as you said, I think that's one of the complaints Amanda had against it is that, you couldn't plan your turn. So you look at the market and go, I want that bird. Oh,
exactly the problem. That's it.
You can switch off until it's your turn and, everything's changed since then.
Just encourages downtime.
Yes, precisely, and that's the problem with it. Whereas with 2 or 3, it's actually a little bit better. I mean, I suppose you could house rule it with more players. You could make the market bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. So, I mean, some of my picks... I think some of the LCG, CCG kind of card games work brilliantly at 2-player because that's what they're designed for. So like Netrunner, I still think Netrunner is one of the best card games around.
I do like it.
Yeah, and I do like some of the other CCGs and LCGs that came out. The Warhammer 40,000 one I still think is a really, really good game. Doomtown Doomtown, I still think it's actually one of the best card games going. It's just a shame that it's rules-wise a bit complicated. But as for a board game, I am rather a fan at the moment of Seven Wonders Duel.
I haven't played it, but I've heard it's very, very good. I like Seven Wonders. I haven't played Duel, but I've heard it's good.
So, you know how in normal Seven Wonders it's all about drafting, isn't it? It's all about sending the cards around the table. But what it does in Duel is it basically puts that draft as like a pyramid of cards on the table.
Right.
Half of which you can see, half of which you can't. So what happens is you can't access certain cards until people have picked up other cards. And because it's going like one after another and you're picking up one card each, there's this really careful thing of like, well, I want that card. But if I get that card, I'm going to reveal the next one below it, which will probably help my opponent. So there's that whole balance in it. And it's got the whole thing in Seven Wonders. If you've got like 7 things you can get points for. So you're there trying to balance like, well, do I just go for one thing or do I got an even spread? Or
Okay, interesting.
It works really, really well. They've taken the basic concept and turned it into a really cool two-player game.
Weirdly, I find Mansions of Madness working better with 2 or 3.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Anything like Mansions of Madness or like co-op survival kind of games. So Arkham Horror as well.
Because there's too much argument otherwise. There's too much fucking discussion about, we should go here, we should go... No. Shut up. I know I'm going to be that person. But no, we go here because it's more efficient and that means we're not going to get... You go there, you go there, you go there. Do it. Stop arguing.
Which I think works well for the narrative cooperatives, but I think things like Pandemic work better when you've got more players.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because you need the one idiot to screw things up.
Let's face it, if you're not playing with Steve playing all the Epidemic cards, then you might actually win.
That's true. Yeah, John and I win the game. Steve just ruins it for us.
Yeah. Standard.
I say win.
Well, we're less likely to lose.
Try and haul it from the fire. Steve's doing his best to undermine our efforts.
Yeah.
But it's funny you should say that. Is your reasoning the same as mine then, John? Because there are just too many cooks in a way for things like mansions and stuff.
I think sometimes it's nicer to have a bit more time to be a bit quieter about these things. But if you're going to quarterback these things, if you're going to tell the other people what to do, I don't think it's any more enjoyable for one person being told what to do versus 3 people being told what to do.
I was being slightly facetious. As I say, I'm going to be that guy, but it does... I think with too many people there, you've got almost cat syndrome because everyone wants to just zoom off and around the map and click on everything. And things like Mansions of Madness and Arkham Horror, they require a little bit more focus than it first appears, because in Mansions, certainly, you've got an action economy, and if you have too many actions, too many things happen in the background, obviously you don't see until the Soulspawn appears or whatever, but everyone starts clicking on everything. You're like, stop it! Stop clicking on that shit. No, look at the library because, we need a book, or go into there and talk to this person because, you do that, that's fine, you go along there. Stop clicking on everything as you go along because you're spending 3 actions in order to do that when you need to spend 1, because the faster we can get through the game, okay, we might not have everything, but if we do that, we're less likely to encounter a massive beastie.
Yeah.
And I have a shotgun.
I think those games work with lots of people, but I think they're still fun with 2.
Yeah.
How are you planning to get back to gaming with lockdown being relaxed?
I don't expect to get back to gaming with lockdown being relaxed. Firstly, because lockdown hasn't been relaxed that much. And secondly, because even if it were, the outings that we're going to have are going to be much shorter than like being able to sit down and have a decent length board game.
That's true. I don't know about, lockdown basically might as well have been lifted in Bewdley this bloody weekend. The number of people on the river this far apart from each other, you're like, what's the point, really?
See, I reckon if Dominic Cummings can drive to a castle to test his eyesight, I can drive to Andy's and play Twilight Imperium to check mine.
That's a fair point, because my table is 7 foot long and 1.1 metres wide, so we can mathematically stay at least 2 metres apart.
Although, will you not be touching the same pieces?
No.
I've got rubber gloves in the car, it's fine.
Okay. See? And I used to have a T-shirt that says, don't touch another man's meeple.
Don't touch Andy's pieces.
No. But you can touch my meeple, that's fine.
In all honesty, I don't know what I'm planning on doing. It's like, we'll wait and see. Basically, I'm either going to Andy's or Andy's coming to mine, I think, is the first point of call, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's going to be a case of, like, yeah, I'm leaving the house at 8 in the morning and I'm going back at 8 at night.
A week later.
Yeah, I was going to say, stay over. Got a spare room, it's okay. I can fumigate it if necessary. Besides, I owe Steve a rematch on Star Wars Rebellion. He's beaten me twice now by the skin of his teeth.
Oh, now that's a good two-player game.
Exactly, that is a good two-player game.
That's a bloody good two-player game.
One of the best, I'd say.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the genuine answer is I don't properly know because I think we'll have to wait and see.
Would be worth the wait?
I like to think I'm worth the wait, yes.
Paul Anderson asks, what were you most looking forward to seeing at this year's Expo?
Don't know.
That's a hard one to say because we didn't have all the buzz beforehand where everyone told us what games are going to be released.
Yeah.
Because the first thing we heard about it was, it's not happening till August. So everyone's like, we'll think about it in 6 months' time. And then all of a sudden it's cancelled. We don't need to think about it anymore, so let's not bother.
Well, this is what gets me. Loads of companies have probably were planning to release games. You know, loads of companies were planning to bring things out. I mean, we've already mentioned it's likely that Warhammer 40,000 was supposed to be launched this week. The Aconite books range from Asmodee was supposed to be launched at Expo. Who knows is basically the short answer. I was quite looking forward to seeing what Board and Dice's more unpronounceable games beginning with T there.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Basically, Daniel Tuschini's new games with Big Davey T.
Yeah, David Turtsy's doing 2 games. Daniel Tuschini's doing 2 games, and then they're both. So there's like 3 games in total, and they're both doing 1 together. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
So there's 3 games coming out from them 3. Yeah. So I would like to have seen them, but other than that, we don't really know because I don't really know what was supposed to be coming out. I mean, there was loads of games from last year's Expo we didn't really find out about until the press preview. I mean, we did it.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but yes.
And he's not on this episode, so he should be here answering this question. Because he's probably got a spreadsheet already which explained what he was looking forward to.
Totally. What else would have been out? I mean, we probably would have had a look at Alley Cat. We always have a look at Alley Cat because they're always reliable.
Yes, and we would have seen Eternal Palace, which we talked about on the last episode.
Yeah, so that would have been good.
And we may have even seen Dice Theme Park as well.
Yes, we always have a look at CGE as well.
Yeah.
We like them.
So their new one, is it Falling Skies?
I don't know, is Sanctum out yet?
Yes, Sanctum came out of their Essen.
Yes.
Yeah. Lewis Shaw and Braincrack Games, we always like to see what they are about with things. But they've had a very similar situation to John. Because Lewis' child has been born, and I think he was premature as well. So I think that's thrown a spanner in the works as well. So
I wondered why the updates on Kickstarter had dried up.
We've been exchanging messages on the difficulties with having a premature child in lockdown.
Yes, I can believe that.
Oh, it's roughly about the same time, wasn't it? The 2 kids were born. They're very close to birth dates.
Alarmingly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there must have been something in the air.
Oh, I don't want to know. My eye.
It wasn't COVID.
You. And I would obviously have had a look at Phalanx because I have a say hello to Yarrow and the team there because they're always producing something that you two are completely uninterested in. Vaguely, strongly historical and probably tedious to your ears, but very, very interesting to my dry, boring mind.
Yeah, fair.
Although I'm not aware of much they're doing this year because I know they're due to deliver a couple of Kickstarters that I've backed recently, and a couple of others that I know they're releasing either very soon or just have. One of them was that Europe Divided one that I looked at a couple of years ago that you two went, no, offhanded, we're not listening to that. And you just left. I quite enjoyed the idea.
I'm sure they're all very good games. They just don't interest me.
No, it's fair enough, you know, I get it, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I always say hello to Phalanx, so I always have a good chat with Yarrow.
What I would have liked to have seen actually is Mythic Games stuff. But it would have been interesting to see if they were at Expo because Hell was just on Kickstarter, and me and John saw a sneaky look at Hell at last year's Expo. Just looked at the miniatures and the promotional work for it. I didn't back it in the end because there was something about it just didn't quite grab me. But I really do love Viking stuff, so I might wait for retail for that one, or wait till the reviews come out at retail.
Or when I get the Kickstarter.
You've backed it, so I don't need to bother. Right, there we go.
Done.
Problem solved.
Goes away.
Problem goes away.
So there you go. We can answer the previous question. What are you playing to get down with lockdown? Be relaxed. Well, by the time it's relaxed, we'll be playing hell.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
So, Kakadrillo asks, is there a game you haven't played because you didn't get meet face-to-face with people? So kind of the opposite question, really. Is there a game you're itching to play once you can get near more people again? Obviously, he knows that, being an avid listener, Alberto knows that we do play with our partners on occasion. And some of
you guys do.
Most of us get beaten by our partners as well, which is depressing.
I think you answered that in the previous one. I think me and Andy are itching to play another game of Star Wars Rebellion, really.
Totally. Definitely.
I want to play Maya Marsh, and Terra Mystica was the other game that turned up for me.
Yes!
Ooh.
You have Terra Mystica.
I do.
You bastard. I've been looking for a decent copy of that for a while.
I think we found out it was reduced on one site, and I know John and Rory both bought it on the same day. From the same supplier.
Yeah.
And I thought you had as well, Andy.
Yeah, I think it'd run out by the time I got to it.
Oh, maybe it was Adam who bought it. Maybe it was Adam. Because I was hovering over the buy button and John said, I've just bought it. And I said, I just bought it. And I think Adam must have bought it as well. And I went, well,
no point.
There's no point me paying for it now, is there?
But the funny thing is, this was another time that I was busted by single wave shipping because it was going to ship at the same time as Maya Marsh, which I didn't realise. There didn't seem to be an option to pick that. And that was waiting for it to finish its Kickstarter stuff. So whoever it was I got it from, the cards, Chaos Cards, was where I ordered it from. They had got a load of Kickstarter copies, but they were waiting for them to be shipped to them so that they could then sell them on to us. So, yeah. So although I ordered it on the same day, it arrived like 9 months later.
Speaking of which, I'm still waiting for my copy of Cooper Island from Chaos Cards.
I thought you had that months ago.
I ordered it months ago. It was like November or October time. I've still not received it.
Need to have a word.
I think I do. I still have it as an open order with them. I've still got the email. But I think every time I go onto their site, they're still awaiting stock. So I don't know if there's been like a massive issue with printing or supply or what, but I have yet to receive it. But I go to other suppliers, and it looks like they're all out of stock as well. So I think there's probably just a supply issue.
So, Strategy Game Geeks and Metropia ask, with cons going online, what would you like to see them and participants and publishers do to make it a great experience?
I don't feel like it's the same thing online. The whole thing with board games is that they're a very physical thing. And doing all that stuff online, same reason I don't really enjoy most of the digital versions of board games. Part of the fun for me of board games is that you are meeting up with other people and you're looking them in the eye when you stab them in the back.
And drinking beer.
I'm finding you can do all that with Zoom or Skype or Discord. You can still look them in the eye and stab them in the back. But you're right, there's something not quite there with it.
Yeah.
The other thing I found with like online cons is the same thing I have with a lot of like streamed events. Especially a con because it's like a whole weekend or whatever. It's very easy to go, well, I've got to go mow the lawn now. Or I've got to go wash the pots, or I've got to put tea on.
I better go and change that nappy now.
Well, yeah. Whereas like Expo, it's like, right, that's 3 days. You ain't getting anything out of me for 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm probably 4 because I need to sleep in on the 4th day.
Possibly the 5th as well.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing's happening. And I will prep like days before, right? These are the meals that are in the freezer for you if you want to cook.
Yeah.
Your mum's coming over here. Your friends are coming over then. Right? I'm free for 3 days. You are not seeing me.
It's an event. It is like, bang, done.
Yeah.
Whereas online stuff you can dip in and out of and it's interruptible. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It feels like I don't have the draw with the online event, which is actually, maybe that's the question. What can they do to draw us in and get us to go to a con?
The answer is take them offline and make them a physical con again.
Plus, I don't get to drive. I try and break my driving record to get from home to the expo in record time.
Well, actually get to the Expo. There was redundancy in that sentence.
I have never failed to get to the Expo, Mr. Cage. Other conferences are, up in the air, but
tricky.
Trickier. I'll spend more time on the road, so, statistically, I'm less likely to get to them.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Right.
The answer to that question is we don't know, because I think it needs something that will properly draw us in, and I'm not quite sure what that is at this time. I don't know. Is it free stuff? You attend a seminar and you get sent a promo? Because that's what a lot of conventions do. Go here and get a card for your favourite game.
Doesn't really attract me.
Don't give a shit.
Perhaps somebody revealing a game. If someone was doing a stream and they revealed a brand new game, I don't know. Maybe like Phalanx went on a stream and they revealed the latest game and showed you through it. Would you watch that?
Yeah, that might be more likely to bring me in.
I think I'd go based on the thing that's been shown rather than the event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah. So,
to give an example, last year I ended up watching most of the D&D 5th edition reveal for the Descent into Avernus live. The reason I ended up watching that live is because my wife was actually being sick in the other room at the time, but because it was 1 o'clock in the morning. But
was she lashed up?
Following morning? No, I don't know. I can't remember the reason why now. She had food. Oh, she had food poisoning.
Okay.
That was it. The reason was she had food poisoning. But I mean, the following morning, I watched a lot. Basically, as soon as I woke up, I watched most of that feed because I wanted to hear what the next campaign was.
Who does most of the cooking in your house, Steve? Just asking.
Me.
Right, we'll not come to Steve's house again.
Familiar story. So, Sam Francis asks, with a new Terraforming Mars big box Kickstarter coming out, how important are great components to the long-term success of the game? Obviously, he knows what we're getting at.
Well, apparently and demonstrably, it doesn't seem to matter. You can produce a mediocre game with shit components and no one cares.
Until it's too late.
Terraforming Mars is an odd one to call out, isn't it? Because it really is a terrible physical quality of that game.
Yeah. But people love it. I mean, I suppose it's the same way that you're playing a video game and it doesn't really matter if the graphics are a bit pants, provided the story and the gameplay are really, really good. You can kind of see past the graphics. I guess it's kind of that. But the thing is, I've got Terraforming Mars. I've played Terraforming Mars, and I just don't get why people fawn over it. It's okay. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad game, but it's not that good.
I have a theory with that.
Go on.
What's the other most popular game? If you had to name the most popular game at this time, what is it?
Magic or something.
Wingspan. Wingspan won all the awards at BGG this year. Like all of them, even for categories which made no sense as to why it was winning. How's Wingspan play? Very, very similar to Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, okay. Accessibility, maybe.
No, I think there's something about that card play that taps into a lot of people's psyche. And for some reason, it doesn't tap into ours.
It's because we have taste.
No, that's not it.
I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but I think there's something about that little engine building thing.
I like a good engine builder. I can understand that.
Yeah, well, because Terraforming Mars is an engine builder, Wingspan is an engine builder, but they're very simple ones because you just play a card and that card does stuff. It's not complicated, this does X, does Y, does...
Certainly no Lacerda.
No, exactly. And I think there's something about that combination of a simple engine builder that seems to tap into people, and that's what a lot of people want from a game.
There you go.
It's a theory.
Yeah. Sounds reasonable.
How important are great components for long-term success? Well, the general thing is most long-term games have always had pretty average components. It's only the modern equivalents of it which have had great components.
I mean, look at Hero Quest. Oh no, they've got the best miniatures ever. Apologies.
Yeah.
Best furniture ever.
Yeah.
It's true. I suppose. I mean, yeah, well, Talisman's... I mean, I'm not actually getting a Talisman here, but Talisman is a long-term successful game, and let's be honest, it does look kind of pants. But it's been around for a long time. It makes a lot of money. It's got bajillions of expansions. Carcassonne. Monopoly.
Yeah.
None of these are particularly high-value production games, but they've been around forever. Catan. Yeah. Pandemic, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Pandemic's not a bad quality game. It does what it says on the tin. It's a Ron-Seal game. It's got all the decent artwork it needs. It has the components it needs. I wouldn't say none of them are bad, but I wouldn't say it's spectacular, but it's fine. It works, and it's a good game.
I reckon nice graphics, nice miniatures, that sort of stuff help get people through the door. But it's the gameplay that helps the longevity of a game.
Oh, totally. Do I want to play this again? I mean, I've played
Blood Rage. Back?
Yeah, exactly, John. It's the same. The way I play computer games, and probably a lot of people play computer games, is like, okay, it looks very nice, but if the story's pants, I'm not interested. I want to play the game because I want to know how the story unfolds. I want to keep playing just this one more mission, just this one more mission. And if I don't have that hook to keep me coming back, I'll just turn it off. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. It doesn't matter how many graphics cards it needs. Go away. I'm not arsed.
If you want 1,500 hours of gameplay out of a game, you need to put some meat in there.
Yeah, precisely. You need that hook, and obviously, Terraforming Mars, Pandemic, all have that. It baffles me because I found Terraforming Mars to be ludicrously simple, straightforward, and a little tedious. But
there you go.
So Harry Ill asks, with the cons being run online, do you see any continuing this approach when restrictions on gatherings are lifted?
No. For the reasons we have already said.
Yeah.
I think businesses will... I've heard a lot of people say that the cons make them a lot of money. This is where a lot of companies show off their games and get the hype, and it's where a lot of companies sell their games. People were telling us just before the lockdown started, when there was rumours that Expo was going to be cancelled, that business-wise this is a very bad thing because they'd all bought stock ready to flog at Expo. It's their biggest selling event of the year. And I don't think most board game companies don't want to pass that up. As we've already alluded to several times, it's a game based on physically sitting around a table, looking your other player in the eye and moving meeples around a table. So, yeah.
And stabbing them in the face, the back.
Whichever bit's closest.
Whatever, yeah, exactly. But no, it's true. It's a huge sales opportunity. It's a huge marketing opportunity. It's a huge promotional opportunity. It's a huge networking opportunity as well. Because there's obviously not just board game sellers there. There's board game component producers there.
Yeah, and if you go to like Essen's even more like that. Essen feels like half the con is actually meetings. You can see like they've set up meeting rooms for people, and you'll see several suits walking around to make deals on sales of games. It's
absolutely
a big thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's also demos of games. It's also playtesting of games. It's, as you say, obviously all builds towards the hype, but you keep players interested by showing them new stuff. Say, hey, look what we've got. Do you actually want to be involved in this? And it all works. All those little things that you don't get online because you just don't, like walking past the stall. You just go, oh, what's that? It happens now and again, but you don't get that on video. Ooh, that looks pretty. What do these do?
I wasn't going to stop here, but you've intrigued me. Okay, yeah, fine. I'll play a game. Fine,
exactly.
I'll take a copy of Dice Summoners away. Fine. Yeah.
And now, who's this big bearded bastard with a massive great hammer? Oh, it's a chap called Elliot doing auctions. Okay, that's cool. And every year now, I deliberately go and see Elliot because he's really good and he runs really good auctions for charity and he does some really good games. And it's that sort of thing you just don't get on video.
Yeah.
It's again community building as well.
Definitely.
Because you'll walk past someone you recognise, celebrities. But even just, someone you've seen down a different con or at a games convention, a game playing or a weekend or whatever like that, you just don't get that on video. So I think, it's the physical thing is definitely better. We are interactive beings, unfortunately. We can't all sit behind a video screen.
Yep.
And get the same thing.
David Livens, who draws stuff. As an excellent podcast, not associated with any other networks, that's right, we are pretty independent. He'd love to hear our honest opinions on the current state of board game media. And he offers a grimacing face as he says this.
Oh, I can see the smirk on Andy's face already. Look at that. Andy obviously has an opinion here.
Andy has an opinion on everything. Andy has an opinion on everything.
True.
It's fine. I believe we've covered this before in various flavours, to be fair.
Well, have we? Because you mentioned this because we put the questions up on our Google Doc so we can have a quick flick at them. Have we talked about the state of media? Talked about the state of the industry, but have we talked about board game media?
I don't know. Maybe we've made passing comments. I don't know.
And it would have been a while ago since when you said that. So have things changed? So current state.
I don't know is the honest answer because I haven't actually taken in that much board game media recently, is my honest answer. That is the truth. However, there are things that I do see that are still present to a greater or lesser extent. I think people are too nice. And I don't mean that in a really sort of everyone should be horrible kind of way. I just mean that I think, I mean, we are, as you know, our reputation suggests, that or goes that, there's been a few publishers who are terrified to send us stuff because we are not afraid to turn around and say something is shit, justifiably, and we try to be constructive.
We're constructively honest.
Exactly. Whereas I think there are some media outlets out there, I've read a few, that they deliberately avoid being negative, which I don't think is helpful. And I've made this point before, but I think the only way that people ever improve is through criticism, honest, constructive criticism. You can't just sit there, rant, and say this is shit and not give a good reason for it. That's not helpful to anybody. But I mean, the reason we do what we do is that we want to see a good product at the end of the day, and we want to help publishers make a good product at the end of the day, because if they make a good product, we will buy it. And if we buy it, they can make a new good one. So if somebody turns around and goes, this is rubbish, do you think about maybe turn this into maybe do this to the game, and maybe this game, it'll probably improve it. And I'm sure there are plenty of other people say, well, actually, you've got conflicting agreement, and this is obviously up to the publishers to take any feedback with pinches of salt and to decide. You can't please everybody. But ultimately, I think being negative is not a bad thing, provided it is done in a constructive manner.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's done enough. I think there's almost too much positivity, and it kind of makes me sick in a way. But that's partly because I'm a miserable bastard. But I see comments on various forums saying, "Oh, we don't like negativity. This is supposed to be a positive place." Well, it's not negativity if you're turning around and justifying why something is shit. That's a constructive argument.
Maybe you shouldn't use the words "this is shit."
Obviously, I'm paraphrasing slightly, obviously, to save time. But sometimes we do say this is shit, because it is. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being negative, justifiably.
Yeah.
So my observations of the current state is that one of the whole things about board game media, and it's the same with any kind of media at this point, is there's very few barriers to entry now. Anyone can start up a blog. Anyone with a phone can start up a YouTube channel. Anyone with a microphone can start a podcast.
We did.
Okay, and they're yeah, exactly. And so everyone's giving it a go, and you see people saying, "Oh, I'm going to start reviewing board games now." And the first thing they always say is, "Well, how do I get hold of review copies?" And the first response is always, "Well, until you've written some reviews,
buy them.
Buy them, or review the games you've got and all that." And one thing, because of that, I don't know if it's because of that, but I'm seeing the whole industry media side of it being spread thinner. It felt like a couple of years back, there was basically 2 or 3 really big channels. And I've noticed that they've gone from Patreon. It always used to be Patreon to try and get money in. Now they're all going to the Kickstarter. And what's happening is, I think, there's more of these bigger channels going to Kickstarter and getting money. So, for instance, it always used to just be Dice Tower. Dice Tower were always the big one. Then you saw some other people getting on board and getting bigger. Like, for instance, one of our favourites, Secret Cabal. They've obviously reached that really high level.
Yeah.
And then you hear of other people like Heavy Cardboard. But then I've noticed, there was adverts everywhere for Kickstarters for Tantrum House this week. I've got to admit, I didn't even know who Tantrum House were. I've never watched a single review video by them. And had to look them up, and then realised these people have got hundreds of thousands of views, and they've been going for years. I'm like, well, I've not even heard anyone even speak about them.
It's interesting, isn't it? And
they're all making, they're making a load of money on Kickstarter at the moment. And I think the state at the moment is it's been spread thinner and thinner still, if that makes sense. I think Secret Cabal have even said in the past they're finding it more difficult to get the same kind of money they were getting 2 or 3 years ago. And I think if you look at their Kickstarter, you can see they're not making as much. And I think Patreons and all that means that people are spreading thin. So people who want to make money from it, yet I don't know if it's the same amount of money has been spread around. There's not as much money going around. But that means that affects us a little bit in a weird way. Because it used to be a doddle to get hold of a review copy of a game, for instance. 5-6 years ago, you'd ask someone for a review copy, and 75% of the time, they'd go, yeah, no problem. Then the other 25% were either, no, we don't really review copies, or we don't think you're really big enough, we don't think you're worth it. Whereas I kind of get the impression now it's like, you've got to be really bloody big for us to send us you a review copy. You know, otherwise we're sending out 50, 100 review copies of games.
Yeah. We've got to have heard of you, basically.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a healthy degree of cynicism on the publisher's side as well. And for good reason, for exactly those reasons, yes.
Yeah.
Who are you?
No, I've definitely seen some publishers do that, like, who the devil are you? Why should I be giving you money? You know, you're not shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
What makes I'm not going to get the views I need off you.
Yes. Well, it's fair enough. I mean, as I say, this is a big bugbear of mine, actually, is this ridiculous notion that I've seen banded around over the last couple of years that it's possible to be objective when you're either earning money or getting free stuff or anything like that. And I just think that's absolute bullshit, because as soon as some kind of remuneration is involved, be it a free game or any kind of money or, you know, anything like that, all of a sudden then you are biased because you have a vested interest. As soon as there is a vested interest on either side, the subjectivity...
I'd say I think that's becoming less of an issue at this point because of most people complaining about that.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good then.
I don't think the bias of review copies is much. And I think the people who are being paid to do reviews are being ousted quite quickly.
That's good.
It's at least being highlighted.
Yeah, I don't think the top people, so I don't think, Secret Cabal, No Pun Included, Shut Up and Sit Down, Dice Tower, I don't think those people are being swayed by review copies, and they're the people who have the most...
that's probably
voice.
fair. Sorry, I'm probably being slightly cynical, but it's just I've seen certain elements of the community being like that, and they're like, well, why I need more clicks, I need more money, I need this, I need that, and it's like, no, that's not the way to do it. That's very cynical, and that breeds subjectivity, because you're then interested in, I'm making a positive review because it's going to get more clicks, or I'm going to get more stuff, therefore I'm going to get a free copy, which means I can review more stuff. So there's a vested interest in producing a positive review, and I don't agree with that.
I do think that happens the lower end, as it were.
I think you get the inverse as well. Like, you get really, really critical reviews, like this game's shit, basically, just to get some hype about it, to get some interest.
Yeah, but I don't think that the negative reviews actually have much traction in board gaming. There's only basically 2 or 3 people that do negative reviews. And I mean like that this is shit negative reviews.
Andy.
And I think I can count them up. Well, yeah, Andy, Broken Meeple. No, I'm running out now.
Maybe people should.
Yeah, but to that level, I've heard people, I've watched the Shut Up and Sit Down and a No Pun Included, no pun included video where they say this game isn't very good, but they don't go to that kind of hate level.
I've never gone that. I've never done that.
But I know what you're on about, Andy, but I've not seen that in a while.
That's good. I mean, it is.
I know where you're coming from, and I know where you're coming from examples of things that happened like...
A couple of years ago, yeah. I mean, as I say, it's nice to see this disappeared, because that's something that really pissed me off. The cynicism behind it was just, I think it's the wrong motivation, because we do this because we don't get paid. We just do it because we enjoy board games. We enjoy playing it. We enjoy talking about it. We enjoy, discussing them like we are now. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a negative opinion about something, provided you can obviously support it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you come back to your point there, John. There's the negative reviews don't get any traction. I think there's probably a degree of subjectivity there from the publisher's part, because they're not going to be the one to be associated with a negative review, because they want to sell games. So that negative review is less likely to be published. That said, I have published negative reviews, or at least not positive reviews, let's say mediocre or at least middling reviews in the past. But because we are, as has been pointed out, fairly independent, and Steve is really nice and allows me to do this sort of thing, is that I can publish this and then say to the publisher, this is my review. I mean, if it's really, really, really horrible and I've hated the game completely, I've usually have the courtesy of writing to the publisher first and say, look, am I getting this right? Because I don't want to misrepresent the game here. I did it with Magnate, actually. I wrote to James first and said, is this all right? Because I don't want to get this wrong. And here's a bunch of comments. And he says, no, this is fine. And therefore I published it, and it was fine. But I have done it on a couple of other times. One of the publishers was like, I don't agree with any of that, but you're going to do it anyway. And they were really, really, really defensive about it. But most of the time, most people will engage with you and say, well, okay, you've got this rule wrong. Or actually, okay, that's actually fair, because you backed it up and that's your opinion and that's fine. And they've got their big boy pants on and they appreciate that they can't appeal to everybody. And that's fine. And that's a good thing. It is, at the end of the day, our opinion or my opinion or somebody else's opinion. And that's all it is.
That's always the worry, I think, when we play a game and we think this is shit. Really didn't enjoy that experience at all. You think, have we fundamentally got something wrong? Because you'd hope that in these day and ages, most people would be putting out games that most people like. So if all three of us think that game was shite, then there's something not right there. Either we've fundamentally misread a rule, in which case it's definitely worth talking to the publishers and just checking, this is how we played it, and it just felt a bit rubbish. And they go, no, but you don't play it like that, because if you look at this bit of the rule book, you'll see that first rule, the one thing that we said, you must read this bit, you've been playing it wrong. And we've done that before. Yes,
we've done it a few times. But this is why you check. You're right, John. Absolutely right. The thing, you're right, though, because the three of us have, I wouldn't say wildly different tastes, but sufficiently different tastes that if we all sit down and none of us enjoy something, there's definitely something wrong. Either or the game is broken. I look at Zoocracy there.
See, I wasn't going to name anything.
The game wasn't broken. We broke
it. We did break it. We did something that the designer wasn't expecting. But you're not supposed to do that. But there's nothing to stop us.
That might actually be a case of we are broken.
Yeah, potentially, or at least we thought outside the box. Hang on a minute, Rory and I can run an anarchy, run a dictatorship here.
Yeah.
But again, we did engage with the publisher and say, we didn't just go, this is rubbish. Did we get this right? Because again, we don't want to misrepresent something if we're in the wrong.
He didn't play it wrong.
They weren't happy about that, though.
He didn't play it wrong. He just played it like arseholes.
But at least we checked. That's the thing.
This is how we play every game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Did we get it wrong, or are we just wankers? No, you're just wankers. Ace. I'm comfortable with that.
We can live with that. We'll sleep at night.
I think you touched on something actually earlier, Andy. I don't, and this is maybe a bit too insular and maybe bad looking, but I don't actually look at much other game reviews now. Partly because I don't want them flavouring my own opinion. It's only when the game I'm really excited about that I haven't had a chance to see somewhere else, I'll go, I'll watch a review of that.
No, I agree. I mean, I follow a few people on Twitter and Instagram. But it's only a select few. There's only literally about 5 different things. Just because I like the way they do things, I like the way they present stuff, and I like what they talk about. I'm not going to name them, but other than that, and even then, they're not really reviewers. They're just kind of people who say, we play games a lot. This is what we've been playing. I quite like it. I dislike it, whatever it is, And I can kind of engage on that level. But in terms of reviews, no, I'm like you. I don't really, unless I'm buying something. Like, say something like Zatu or Chaos Cards, and there is actually a user review there, and I might sometimes cast my eye over it, but other than that,
I'm much more likely to watch a how to play it video than a review of a game if I'm interested in it for that same reason. Like, I'd rather form my own opinion on it, but I'd like to see some aspects of, like, this is how you play it, this is what happens in it, because then you don't get the same level of I'm really excited about it because there's all of these cool things that I love about it, that sort of thing.
I do think, actually, again, this is, slightly out of date, but I do remember feeling sometimes watching some reviewers, they get really excited about certain aspects of the game, as you suggest there, John. And I remember video game reviewers used to do this all the time as well. They get really excited. Oh, you can press a button to do this. I don't care. I don't need a user manual. I want to know, is the game any good? And this is coming from the opposite side, I suppose. If I am watching a review, I want to know how it plays. Is it fun? That sort of thing. Whereas I don't want to know how to play the game. That's what the manual's for.
Yeah.
I want to know, what's your opinion? Is it good or bad? And why?
I don't know whether I've just filtered out. I mean, of those I do watch and read these days, I don't know if I've just filtered out the ones that used to do that, but I'm noticing that less and less as well.
I agree, actually.
Maybe it's because I revolt against them, because one of the worst kind of review I hate is a board game review, which is basically just a paraphrased manual and then a sentence at the end that goes, yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And I've read 1,000 of those reviews where it is like there's no opinion until the final paragraph, and then it's like, yeah, we liked it.
Why?
But I found in them much, much less these days.
Which is good.
I don't know if it's just because those people are being filtered out, or if I've just got an internal filter that's just blocked that kind of content now.
So given that our honest opinions of the state of the board game media are mostly based on our own experiences, because that's the board game media we actually look at, I'd say it's a bit like the Seven Dwarves. We're sleepy, we're grumpy, and we're angry.
And that changes depending on what day of the week it is and who it is.
Yep. It might be more than one at the same time.
Thank you very much for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider. If you'd like to give us a review on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice, we'd be very much appreciative. If you'd like to chat to us, we are on Twitter. We are collectively at PolyhedronC. I am at Wahoffle
I am at Sonic H with a 0.
I'm at John_Cage, and Rory, when he's around, is at Rory J. Summers.
We're also on Facebook. We also have a guild on Board Game Geek, and that is number 2726. So occasionally we put up reviews, articles, questions, etc., etc. So check us out there.
We also have polyhedroncollider.com, but I don't know if it's worth mentioning that because at the moment, because it's locked down, none of us are producing any content for it.
Yeah, that's the reason, Steve. Yeah.
It's the reason was lockdown is the reason why I'm not, because I used to do it all on the train to work.
That's true. That's fair.
So I used to get my little iPad on my laptop and type it all out, and I'm not doing that anymore. I'm sleeping instead.
Nice. So maybe watch that space, but do so patiently.
Yes.
Keep hitting F5, 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 F5.
That's not patiently, Andy.
Oh, well, it is.
No, do that. Get our page views up. We can then blag to people and get review copies. Look, we've got 20,000 page views in 5 minutes. Look how good we are.
Crack on then. Crack on.
We'll be back in about 3 weeks. We've got on a bit more relaxed schedule at the moment. We're aiming for about every 3 weeks rather than 2 a month. So hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Indeed.
Tatty bye.
Ta-ra.
Catch you later.
So Chris Hunter asks, how are you planning to get back to gaming with lockdown? Let's try that again. How are you planning to get back to gaming with lockdown being
Take 3.
How are you planning to get back to gaming with lockdown being relaxed?
Can you say that one more time there, Steve?